Of the Health Subcommittee, the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank all of you for being here. It's extremely important. Balancing America's air quality with economic development begins with implementing common sense legislation. I think we'd all agree on that. EPA reviews the national ambient air quality standards on a 5-year interval. After establishing a national ambient air quality standard, states assume the primary responsibility for implementing and enforcing these rules. This is an extremely time-consuming process, one that takes years and years. I've got a bill. It's called the CLEAR Act that would give states the time needed to implement standards without rushing the process, and I think that's very important. This bill also allows states the opportunity to correct deficiencies found by EPA in state implementation plans for NAAQS before EPA can issue a federal implementation plan. The CLEAR Act offers common sense solutions to make attaining clean air standards realistic while giving states the time necessary to comply. Dr. Boylan, I want to ask you, you're obviously very familiar with implementing clear air quality standards and policy. Can you tell me more about the implementation process for these kind of rules that we're talking about here?
Yes, so for the implementation for the attainment and the non-attainment areas, for attainment areas, there's a lot of hurdles for getting new permits implemented. In fact, the last time the PM standard was dropped from 15 micrograms to 12 micrograms, we had 4 non-attainment areas, and we had 0 new large projects go into those areas until the areas were designated back to attainment many years later. In addition, the areas that were attainment, there was so little headroom that the number of new projects, even in the attainment areas, declined substantially in those areas. So that's kind of what we're looking at with the new standard of 9 micrograms here in Georgia.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Lowering the NAAQS standards, how does it impact you on a local and a state level?
Yeah, so when the NAAQS is lowered, there's a process to go through for designations. It's very resource intensive. We have to make recommendations to EPA on areas that are attainment or non-attainment. It also involves the evaluation of exceptional events, particularly in Georgia for prescribed fires. We had a team of 14 people recently working on exceptional events to be able to get them submitted to EPA. So once we go through the designation process, then a new lower standard does make it much more difficult to issue permits, and then the resources become much tougher, working with the companies to see if there's ways to find compromises and things like that. But in the end, sometimes projects just need to be denied because there's not enough headroom to issue the permit.
Okay, well, we've had a lot of discussion in this subcommittee about the PM 2.5 standard and whether it's too close to background levels or not. Is that, you just mentioned wildfires. Is that something that can lead to non-compliance, do you think?
Yeah, so wildfires, we had the Canadian wildfires that impacted the Northeast and Midwest, but it also impacted the Southeast. So wildfires definitely can impact compliance as well as prescribed fires, which your bill would specifically call out prescribed fires as events that could be removed when making the comparison to the NAAQS.
And isn't that what we call common sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask you this. Georgia, for 11 years in a row, we've been the #1 state in which to do business. One of the primary reasons for that is our availability and affordability of energy. Now, the current PM 2.5 and other NAAQS standards, does it pose a threat to the development of energy projects in Georgia?
Yes, it does. In fact, I spent 4 years as the Georgia EPD liaison to our Georgia Department of Economic Development. And when I met with new companies looking to locate in Georgia, the first question they ask is this a non-attainment area? And if the answer is yes, they're not looking at it. And then they're looking at how much headroom there is for new projects. But yes, this is a serious concern with the lower PM standard, that the ability to permit new projects will be very challenging.
Thank you for that, and thank all of you for being here. Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.
Gentleman yields back now. Recognize the ranking member of the full committee,